Hello, I'm the Pink Phantom, and this is my podcast. Join me as I delve into the world of games and gaming, and especially old school RPGs. Together, let's voyage into the astral realm and check out my Phantom thoughts.
Hey, Jason here. Just want to say that I've enjoyed your deep dives into the piercers and into morale. One interesting thing about morale is everybody kind of is on board with the idea of using it for NPCs, but when it comes to the idea of enforcing morale on PCs, on player characters, people get divided. I think people are more okay with that for modern, like war games. If you're playing a modern game and the idea of suppress a fire or something, people are kind of okay with that. Obviously, they call Cthulhu the idea of insanity or fear, running away, although that's also very divisive because it's, lose a turn mechanic, right? Oh, well, you run away, so you can't do anything this turn. And that depends on the game, of course. But, yeah, morale is interesting because everybody loves it for non-player characters, but it's really divisive when we go to apply it to our PCs. Anyhow, keep up the great work.
Thank you, Jason. I agree. I think things in RPGs they've kind of gotten to where the idea of player agency has really been elevated, and the expectations from players as well, where a lot of RPGs are concentrating more on just having a single character that you stay with for the entire campaign. And so players have a lot more ownership, I guess, of the character and its behavior. So things like morale are kind of discouraged as far as mechanics that affect the player characters. And I think you even see that in the way that things like fear or confusion or the spell charm person are adjudicated now, where there's opportunities in fifth edition at the end of every one of their turns every round to break free instead of either you save or you don't, and then if you don't, then it's kind of a long term effect. But even the old school games, morale was not a thing for the player characters. That was kind of left to the players to make those decisions, and I think that's where you get a lot of the old school sensibility of player skill and knowing kind of when to hold them and when to fold them, and when to walk away and when to run. So I guess in a way that also contributes to the more modern ideas of balanced encounters, where it's not necessarily that the player character is in mortal danger or runs into something that they definitely can't handle over the course of an adventure. It's something that maybe they get unlucky and it costs them a player character, but it's not where it's you know they're hitting some random monster that is just beyond their ability to deal with at the level they're at. But I do think there's more of a stigma today outside of people who play that old school style. There's more of a stigma to taking any kind of control of the player character away from the player due to circumstances, whether it's through the rules or something the GM comes up with, or a spell, or what have you. So I think that's a great observation. So thank you for the call.
And now, more from my solo AD&D RPG campaign, Tales of the Dragon Slayers.
Midday at the River Keep. Report from the archers keeping watch on the outside of the keep is that a group of hill giants appears to be trying to move into the caves in the woods to the south. These are the same caves that previously had been occupied by a couple of Etins, and before that, a group of orcs. Over the midday meal, there's much discussion about whether or not they should wait for their forces patrolling the road to return near the end of the day before confronting them, as these represent some of their heavy infantry as well as what's left of their heavy cavalry after the battle with the adventuring party. Let's see which group was patrolling south of here. On a high roll on a d6, it will be the cavalry. On a low roll, it will be the heavy infantry. And it's a 6, so the heavy cavalry was patrolling to the south. Now they are reduced strength, and they will probably get back before the heavy infantry do, since the infantry are on foot and the cavalry are obviously on horse. Since they're coming from the south, they would be vulnerable to being ambushed by the giants, since there are trees along that roadside where that cave is. As reports continue to come in that it appears to be 3 male giants, hill giants, 3 females, and adolescent, the leadership and the adventuring party believe that they have sufficient force to take on that group, and they can avoid the cavalry being ambushed and can't count on the other infantry returning before the cavalry do. They have at their disposal a unit of light cavalry, another unit of heavy infantry that's loaned to them from the party that occupies the keep, 2 keeps down from the fort, the Dragon Slayers, as well as a unit of light crossbowmen and heavy crossbowmen and the adventuring party. They decide that they will set up an attack near the time they're expecting the heavy cavalry to return, with the crossbows giving support from the hill just above the river keep, and the foot forces and the cavalry will move into the woods on the other side of the road and use that as cover to move within striking position. The archers will fire first, attempting to lure the giants out of the woods to give the cavalry a clear charge against them. So first, let's see if the group can achieve tactical. Well, first, let's see how many rounds after battle begins will the heavy cavalry arrive. I'm going to give it a, let's see, I'm going to say that they could probably estimate within about 15 minutes. That would be about 15 rounds. So I'm going to roll a D12 and a D4. So it'll be at least 2 rounds. And it's going to be 14 rounds after the battle begins that the heavy cavalry arrives. What about the other heavy infantry? That will be, we'll say, another 15 minutes. Actually, I won't say that's about almost 30 minutes. I'm going to say a D20 and a D10. And that will be 17 minutes away, so it will actually be close to, but they will be 3 rounds apart, and they may not participate because the battle may be decided by then. So let's see, in terms of tactical surprise, will the group from the river keep achieve the surprise they're hoping for, or will the hill giants notice something and attack, or will neither side be surprised? So the hill giants are not surprised. The garrison of the keep is also not surprised. They rolled a 6 and a 5. So now we'll do initiative. The giants get a 3. The garrison gets a 5. So they will get to act first. So we have a total of 40 archers firing. The giants, because they are in the wooded area, they have some cover. It will take 20s to hit when you add in the effects of the range. So we'll roll this in groups of 5. The first 5, we have 1 hit. This is from the light crossbows. So 1 hit from the light crossbows. And we have no hits in this next group of 5. 1 hit in this next group of 5, so that's 2 hits from the light crossbows. That's more than you would expect. No hits in that group, and then the sergeant of that group also does not hit. So now we'll roll to see who they hit. Roll D8 a couple times, getting a 6 and a 5. So that's going to be 2 of the female giants, and it will only do, because they're light crossbows, they will only do 1d4 damage. So I get a 4 and a 1. All right. So now the heavy crossbows. No hits. 1 hit. No hits. So still just 1. No hits, still just 1. And then the sergeant, no hits. So 1 hit and it will be on the adolescent, and they do 2 to 7 points of damage. So I'll roll a d6 and add 1, and that's going to be a total of 5 points of damage to that younger giant. All right, so the giants are in the woods. They've been attacked. The foot forces are essentially waiting on the giants to move. So will the giants move, or will they chuck boulders? So we're going to give it a 50-50 on a d6, with high being they chuck boulders. They roll a 2, so they move out. They move at 12 inches, and that will move them within 6 inches of the archers, but it does place them squarely in front of the foot forces. So they have essentially held their action, waiting for the giants to act. I will say the giants took a boulder with them, so they will each get to chuck 1. They are attacking the archers. The archers don't have any woods for cover. So let's see, we'll pick a target. Light crossbow or heavy crossbow, high-low, with the high being heavy. The first giant is aiming at the heavy crossbow, and we'll need this will be a male giant, so only needs a 5 to hit. The females will need 8. 19, that's a hit against the heavy crossbow. Next giant will be light crossbow. 10, that's a hit. Next giant will be light crossbow. A 6 is a hit. And now the female giants, light crossbow. A 15 is a hit. Light crossbow. A 14 is a hit. Light crossbow again. A 16 is a hit. And then the adolescent, also aiming at the light crossbow, and a 6 for the adolescent male will be a hit. So we have 5 hits against the light crossbow, 1 against the heavy crossbow. They do 2 to 16 points of damage. They will, because of the size of the boulders, they will hit 3 apiece. So let's see here, 2 to 16, so 2d6, 2d8, roll 2d8 twice, so 4 and 5. That's enough to kill any of them. So now let's just roll to see if one of them is the sergeant in those groups. A 20 on a d20 will do it. So for the heavy crossbow, no. And for the light crossbow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. So the sergeants stay standing, but the light crossbows, we'll see if there's any overlap. We'll roll them together, and any matches, they were aiming at the same targets. And we have 1 pair of matches. So 12 of the light crossbows are gone. That's quickly 12 men down. So with that, the light cavalry charge. They will charge into, let's see, 2 standing together. Number 4 and number 4. So let's the second one. 4 and 5. 4 and 5, they charge. So the light cavalry are engaging those two. These are 2 of the females. And they will be hitting on 17s. Because they are charging, they will be at a +2. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So looking for at least a 15. I've got 2 hits out of 6. 3 more hits. That's 10, so 1 more. And that's a miss. So 5 hits total. We'll divide those up between the 2. Well, three of them are the same number. So we'll say they hit one and the others hit the other one. So 3 hits on one, 2 on the other. So they are going to be doing 1 to 8 points of damage. So the one that got hit with 3 will take 1 plus 5, 6 plus 6, 12 points of damage. And the other one will be taking 2 hits, 5 and 8 is 13 points of damage. Then the rest of the groups start to move in. The adventurers move in. We've got a paladin, a ranger, a cleric, 2 footmen. I'm sorry, the cleric is resting. So it's the paladin, the fighter. There's a magic user that's going to use a wand of magic missiles. I'm sorry, going to use a magic missile spell. And then 2 heavy footmen carrying glaives. So the footmen will also need 17s to hit. They are charging, so they need 15s. And one of them does hit, doing 1d10 damage. So break out the trusty d10. And doing 7 points of damage. And then the magic missile goes off and fires with a automatic hit, 2 to 5 points of damage, total of 5. So good roll there. The paladin comes in needing a 16 to hit. The paladin has no bonuses to attacking with a longsword. 16 right on the money. That's going to be a 1d12 since it's attacking a large creature. And does 7 points of damage there. And then finally the ranger moves in. The ranger is attacking with a spear +1. So we'll only need a, he's also charging, so he'll need 14, 13 to hit. Let's see, he has a +2 to hit with his strength, so he only needs an 11 or better, and rolls a 13, doing 1d8 points of damage, and gets an 8. But that giant is still standing. This leaves the unit of heavy infantry. They have a total of 12 individuals plus 2 sergeants. So we're going to have 4 move in on each of the remaining giants, with the 2 sergeants moving in on each of the remaining adult giants. So against the first adult giant, needing 15 because they're charging, 1 hit. And then the sergeant does not hit as well. The second adult giant, we get 1 hit, plus the sergeant does not hit as well. And then the group moving in on the adolescent, no hits from those 3. 1 more, nope, no hits on that one. So they're also attacking with long swords. So d12 damage. So the first giant takes 8, and the second giant takes 3. So 8 and 3. All right, second round. The giants roll a 6. The garrison rolls a 1. So the giants go first. So one adult giant swats at one of the heavy infantry. The heavy infantry are wearing a plate with a shield, so he will need a 10 or better to hit, and rolls an 8. Second adult giant against heavy infantry. 17, that is a hit. And he is going to do 2 to 16 points of damage with his hit, which will be 4 points. That's enough to kill an infantry, but not enough to kill a sergeant. So let's see what he hit. He kills one of the... Nope, that's a sergeant. So he hit the sergeant. The sergeant is still standing, but barely. All right, the adolescent He misses with a 6. So now the female giants, let's see, one of them is actually not engaged. So one of them will throw a rock at the archers again and rolls a hit that is on the heavy crossbowman, and that is going to do 3 points of damage. So let's see here. That is sufficient. So that's one more down. Unless it was a sergeant. Let's see if it was a sergeant. It was not. Okay. Wait, count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, it was a sergeant. Okay. I was off by 1. All right, so that is not enough to kill that sergeant. So he takes the lick and keeps on ticking. All right, so the remaining 2 females deal with the cavalry, trying to hit armor class of 7. So they'll only need a 8. That's a 10 and a 5. So 1 hits. And again, doing, let's see here, they do 1d10. They don't do, because they attack as ogres. So that's a 7, but that's enough to kill a cavalry unless, well, let's see. Unless it was a sergeant, in which case it would not be enough to kill. So let's see if they hit the sergeant. Let's see, roll. No, it wasn't a sergeant. So yes, one of the cavalry got killed. So now we have the one that's up against the party members. Swings, rolling a 1, so that wouldn't have hit any of them. So that's not going to matter. Doesn't matter who was targeting. So at this point, the fort troops have lost 13, but that's not 25% of their number yet, so they don't have to make a morale check yet. They're going to have to continue their attack with the party. So the paladin rolls with a 3, that's a miss. The heavy footman roll, a 9 and a 3, that's a miss. They need 17. And then the ranger with his +1, he rolled a 12. No, that's with the +1 from the spears of 12. He has a 14 overall, and that is not sufficient, needing a 16. However, I do need to go back and put in his damage bonus for when he hit that other giant, because he has a +4 damage bonus from his strength that I didn't count, or from his spear for that matter. But it doesn't matter, that giant is still standing even with that added in. And they all missed this round. The magic user has 1 more magic missile spell, and this could potentially kill. Nope, it couldn't potentially kill him, but it can do some more damage, doing a total of 4 points of damage, but the giant is still standing. Now, the heavy infantry. 4 against a giant, plus a sergeant. And we have a total of 1 hit, and that's going to do 12 points of damage. So max damage for that strike, but that giant is still well standing. And then the next adult giant, that's going to be 1 hit. I'm sorry, 2 hits. 2 hits. So that's going to be 2 strikes, 7 points of damage, and 7 points of damage, but that sergeant has a +1, so a total of 15 points of damage. And now the light cavalry against the 2 female giants. We got 1 group that's down to 4, 3 plus their sergeant, and that's 3 hits. And then the horses get to hit on this round, the light horses. So I'll go back to that other female giant in a moment. But this female giant is going to take from the lances 3d8. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points of damage. And now we'll go back to the first giantess and roll for the horses. There'll be 4 horses attacking. They get 2 attacks. They need 12 to hit. They've got 2 hits and then 2 more attacks. And no hits there. Those are just 1d4. So 4 points and 4 points. So that's a lot of damage for those 2 hits. But that giantess is still standing. And now 5 horses attacking the other giantess. We've got 1, 2, 3 hits for that's on 4 hits. That's 3 horses, and then the other 2 horses, that's 2 more hits, and no more hits there. So a total of 6 hits, so 64. And that giantess was down to 3 points, so that giantess is down. So that's 1 giantess down. All right, and I should mention that while that strike against the heavy crossbows didn't kill the sergeant, it did kill basically the 2 guys next to him because it does hit 3 people with the boulder. So that is the end of that round. So at the end of round 2, we have 1 giant down. We have 15 of the garrison down. The garrison star was 61, so that's just under 25%, so they won't have to make a morale roll. And the giants also won't have to make a morale roll because they have not suffered 25% casualties. So we will we'll stop it there because we're running on 20 minutes here, and we'll pick it up next time and see how the battle goes. It's in the balance. I will say that in terms of pure morale, the groups are very high because of the way it's calculated, where you can be over 100%. Every group is at least 89%. But because of the difference in deaths, there would be a big plus to any rolls for the garrison and a big minus to any rolls for the giants. So, but we'll leave it that we won't be rolling morale next round, unless the group that has the top of the round does enough damage to trigger one on the bottom round. But that's it for now. We'll continue this battle next time. The opening theme of this podcast was Strength of the Titans, and the closing music is Late Night Radio, both from Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. If you have any thoughts or feedback, you can get in touch with me by leaving me a voice message on my Google Voice number, 864-209-1441. That's 864-209-1441. Or through SpeakPipe at www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. That's www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. Or you can send me a message or an audio file on Discord, where I can be found the Pink Phantom, or through email, phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. That's phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. I don't have to play or read your feedback on the podcast if that is not your preference. Just let me know.